Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. On the agenda tonight, we're going back to earlier this year. We're going to be taking a look at Larkin Poe and they're going to be performing a stripped back cover of the Dolly Parton classic Jolene. So let's get these ladies up on screen and see how they get on.
Jolene, 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 I'm begging her, please don't take my name. Your beauty is beyond compare, with flaming locks of auburn hair, with ivory skin and eyes of emerald green. Your smile is like a breath of spring, your voice is soft like summer rain, and I cannot compete with you, Jolene. Jolene, 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 I'm begging now, but please don't take my name. Jolene, 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 please don't take him just because you can. He talks about you in his sleep. There's nothing I can do to keep from crying when he calls your name, Jolene.
I'm just going to jump in here because this is such a rare thing to see in terms of two artists, musicians, singers just playing, and it's obvious that it's the audio from the room. You can hear the acoustics within the room, which is really nice just to hear that stripped back sound. But also when they start playing straight away vocally, you know that they can hold a tune and harmonize with each other. The things that you notice as soon as you start watching any artist perform are things like the confidence with the instrument, the ability vocal-wise. Straight away we're into harmony vocals here, so we get a great appreciation of their vocals independently but harmonizing with each other as well. Rebecca, the way that she flips up into that really light head voice, some people will call it falsetto, but it sounds like it's just an airy head voice tone that she's coming out with. So straight away you get that appreciation of control of those vocal cords that Rebecca has. A lot of people will watch this cover and they'll think, yeah, it's a great cover, but why is it so good? First of all, it's all totally live, so a massive tick in that box. But it's the little details of dynamics and journey and all of those things that you find in all the top bands, all the top solo artists as well. They've got the ability on their instrument to build dynamic tension, and we've got that straight off the bat here. The way that Rebecca's starting the track with a palm muted picking motion on the guitar, but throwing that within the rhythm. So it means we get the rhythm going all the time, but also we get a little bit of arpeggiation of the chord with the pick. And with that palm mute, it just means dynamically it's bringing it all down in that verse. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see when the dynamic changes. As soon as we launch into the chorus, open strings and everything is now full out, leaning more into chest voice so that they are projecting their voices in that chorus section in order to make a journey of this cover. It's only 3 minutes and 29 seconds, but they've got that musical appreciation and artistry to add all of these subtle dynamic elements into this performance, and it is a 3-minute 29 performance making a journey out of a track, and it's very well put together. This is something that you can look out for that often distinguishes the good artists from the great artists, because a good artist might start playing the cover and dynamically it's all going to sit at one level. You think, oh yeah, it's good, it's fine, and that's it. It doesn't really affect you, but it wasn't bad. You might not even notice it, but it's these elements, the depth that is added into that particular cover, and that off-the-cuff performance like this is still having all of those dynamic elements running through it, which make it a great cover and a great sound, because we've got dynamic elements coming in, not only vocally when we step it up into the chorus, but also on the instruments. There is so much dynamic change and expression in the instruments themselves. We've effectively now got 4 elements that are all strong in their own way, and having the ability to do that in the first place, it's something that's going to be overlooked all the time, about the amount of practice it takes to get dynamics on an instrument. Palm muting, picking was palm muting, going into straight open strumming, and then also nailing a lead solo, having control of that. Just getting any lead instrument to sell and to sing as the focus within a performance takes such a lot of work from the person playing the instrument in order to give that instrument its voice, and for that voice to come through the player, channel it through that instrument. It's not something that you can just pick up an instrument and instantly get your personality through it. It takes a hell of a lot of practice, and these girls have obviously practiced a lot at their instruments in order to be able to express through them. There are so many levels of ability when playing an instrument, and especially when looking at somebody play the guitar, you can tell instantly pretty much whether they are really comfortable with that instrument or whether it is taking up a lot of their processing power in their brain. Because when somebody hasn't played for a while, it will take a lot of brain power just to get to play the right chord and to do the right strumming pattern. Whereas when you're watching somebody who's totally confident, you can then relax because you can see the playing is subconscious and you're now connecting to the artistry. And we're going to be getting into a lead solo from Megan, who's on the right-hand side here. So we've got this lap steel guitar solo. The control of vibrato is one of those things that on lap steel guitar and pedal steel guitar, you'll know is so important. And to get that control and that expression, again, it takes a hell of a lot of practice. Having so many elements in there dynamically that fly under the radar because it's so well put together shows how competent they are at their instruments. And especially when an instrumentalist can keep your attention expressed through an instrument as a solo section, that is putting the practice hours into a different league, because you're no longer playing something that will be underneath the vocal, so therefore it's not really going to be in the spotlight. So you can get away with not being particularly technically advanced on an instrument because it's always in the background. As soon as you do have a solo section and it's just the instrument's voice under the spotlight, that's where you'll be able to tell straight away whether that voice is coming from the artist or the voice isn't really making sense because the artist isn't at the right technical ability in order to express what they want to through the instrument. And as I've said a million times on this channel, playing an instrument and expressing is all about getting your own personal expression through that instrument. So all you need to do is practice and get your technical ability up to the level you need to say what you want to through that instrument. I just quickly want to throw something in here. I mentioned about them being sisters, and generally every band that have been a family have been at such an advantage when they've got the correct attitude and the work ethic and have the patience to master an instrument and their voices, because they are with each other all the time. If you've been in a band, you know how difficult it is to get 4 people or 5 people in the same place at the same time. It's almost like trying to get blood out of a stone, and you might rehearse once a week and that's all you can manage, sometimes if that. Whereas if you are in a family, if you are sisters, you can say to your sister who's sitting next to you, when shall we rehearse? And they might say, well, I'm watching TV now, so should we do it now? It's just a drop of a hat situation in terms of getting together and rehearsing. The other side of it is being related to other people in the band is by no means a guarantee of success. You've got to have that drive and the dedication, the same things that all the top artists have in order to be successful is that drive to succeed and that drive to perfect the craft. You really can tell that they've been singing together their whole lives. The way that their vocal lines are synchronized and the little pitch change that we have that is spot on timing wise, they are so linked into each other vocally. And that's something that comes with so much repetition. It's so difficult to end vocal phrases at exactly the same time as the backing singers. And it's one thing that you will notice with live performances that the lead singer will be holding on a note and the backing singers have stopped harmonizing, but the lead singer is still singing and then they stop. So you get that uneven end to a particular vocal phrase. Whereas when you're listening to artists, these two in particular, of course, who are ending phrases so accurately together, you know it's taken so long to get to that point, but it's almost second nature. Let's get back to the second half of the video and we'll check out Megan's solo.
I can easily understand how you can easily take my man, but you don't know what it means to be Jolene. Jolene, 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 Jolene. I'm begging out, please don't take my man. Jolene, Jolene, Jolene.
And there we have it. Rebecca on the left of the picture, she leans into that chest voice and applies a really cool wide controlled vibrato that just has so much impact. It's a tiny detail, but it's one of those things that just elevate that chorus and make it slightly different to the previous chorus and really brings that dynamic to a different place. And you can only do that if you've got total control of your vocal cords. The way that Megan's vocal just sits underneath Rebecca's for the whole performance is so well blended together. They're so on pitch here, it's crazy. And when I say about being on pitch, it's not an auto-tune thing, it's just being really close to perfect pitch. It's never going to be perfect pitch all the time because that's what auto-tune sounds like, but we've got the expression in the voice as well, the way that they slide into notes vocally, but then you've got that great combination of sliding into notes on the lap steel guitar. The solo that we had, so well controlled. Again, the expression, it's the same technique that I've just been talking about on the lap steel, the vibrato, deliberate slides as well. It's keeping everything in the same feel, the mood of the performance, having a really deliberate slide is going to suit this particular cover. If it was too fast, it wouldn't sit in to the feel, and it's subtle details and something that great musicians tend to do subconsciously. Something that I want to mention, aside from live performance and having great vocal ability, technical ability at their instruments, is that these girls until 2013 were independent, so doing everything themselves, and is something that I strongly recommend for anyone who is making their own music. In this day and age with the internet, you can do everything yourself. You don't have to get involved with the mainstream music industry. You can just self-produce and sell all of your music through your own website. When I say that they were independent until 2013, that's when they did sign a record deal. And for those of you who have been watching this channel for a while, before you let out a collective groan about signing a record deal, as you will know by now, it's the last thing you want to do, especially with a major label if you're an independent artist. There is a particular situation that it might be good for you to sign a record deal, but take a leaf out of Larkin Poe's book, because they signed to RH Music in 2013, and you might think, is that a label that's controlled by Universal or Sony? It is actually Restoration Hardware, which is a home furnishing store in California, and Restoration Hardware Music is the record label, and they've branched out into music and effectively have allowed Larkin Poe to have the backing of a business that isn't to do with the music industry, but allows Larkin Poe to effectively stay independent, but have that backing. And it is such a cool thing to have businesses that will support artists that are not in it for making money like the mainstream music industry is, but they will support the artists. And something that really sticks out in terms of Larkin Poe being able to express themselves musically with no pressure from a major label, the independent label that they are on allows them to release their own stuff and produce their own stuff, because at the end of 2018, they released an album called Venom and Faith, and that got to #1 in the blues charts. So it just goes to prove that if you let an artist produce their own stuff, there is a chance that they can do well in the mainstream charts, but not be part of a major label and not be stuck in that mainstream music industry that can be so detrimental to so many people's careers. So it was great to read up on the record label that they signed to, because it's great that they can have that backing and not have to sacrifice their artistry and the way that they want to make music because of having that support. And as an independent artist myself, it's so important for talented musicians to have the ability to express themselves and not make any concessions with their music. But thank you guys so much for requesting this video for me to take a look at, and also for pointing me in Larkin Poe's direction, because it's yet another example of a talented band who are doing things in such an independent way. It shows that it is possible for every independent musician out there, even if you are a solo artist. Really, the sky is the limit for everybody nowadays. You can do everything yourself on the internet, and there are so many bands now, fortunately, that are really showing everybody how to do it. And it's a great time to be a musician in 2019 with the internet, and there are so many sites now that are set up with the independent artist in mind. But keep those suggestions coming in the comments below, and if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you guys at the next one.